What is up, YouTube? That's here. I'm back doing more VGC 2023 Regulation C team fixing. This team is another one from that massive team submission post on Patreon. I'm going to show you guys that right here. The massive team submission post on Patreon. If you guys want me to take a look at your team, that's all on Patreon. Even the lowest tier, the $2 tier, gets access to everything on here as well as this submission post. But basically, this team is done by SP space LV1. I think that's a 1 or an L. Basically, they had a Series 1 team that they wanted revamped for Regulation C. And I really think that, like, Series 1 tech is really good. A lot of the things I've been talking about recently, reusing Goldango, Murkrow, using a lot of Mouse Ape, that's all Series 1 tech, and that stuff was good for a reason. So things like Garchomp, Rotom, Talonflame, that's all good for a reason. You gotta respect the classics, and Gengar is so freaking cool. I cannot wait to fix this team. I think this team's biggest flaw, if I'm being honest, would be its only real flaw is that it needs different Teras. I think it needs different Teras, but other than that, I think this team can still hold with all the different Ruin Mons and all the Paradox Mons. You can make so many cool things work given the tools that you have, and hopefully we can show that today. So before we get into the battles, I'm going to direct you guys to the question of the day, and that is, how are you liking Regulation C so far? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you like it more or less than Series 1? Let me know your rankings, right? I would say that I liked Series 1 a lot, but it was pretty one-dimensional because, you know, Dozo was everywhere. There was a lot of Dozo, so you had to have a lot of Dozo checks. I would say I like Series 2, Reg C Series 1, but it's so hard to say. Like, let me know your thoughts and, like, why they're your thoughts in the comments below. And other than that, we're going to hop into some games, play some games with a super cool Gengar team. Wish me luck. Here we go. Alright, that's actually a pretty standard team. I think, like, Ting Lu Mouse Ape with Flutter Amoonguss is, like, really, really solid. Gyarados is a good Intimidator right now. This is going to be hard, because, like, we have the Tailwind, we have the speed that we need to succeed, but we don't really have anything else. I'm looking at the team here, and one thing I'm, like, kind of noticing is... Where is that? Right here? So, like, the Talonflame is, like, a standard Talonflame. I'm wondering if, like, I should lead Talonflame, or if I should just lead, like, Rotom. Rotom's probably a better lead. Yeah, let's go Rotom. I think I'm just going to go Rotom Garchomp. The way to beat these sort of cores, when you see these heavy redirection cores, is to just bring the right amount of AoE damage. That's going to be Rotom's and Garchomp's being able to go for Discharges, Earthquakes. I think I'm going to bring as well, I'm going to bring Gengar because I want to bring it, and then I'm going to bring Talonflame almost exclusively for Amoonguss. Almost exclusively for Amoonguss. I really wish this Talonflame had a safety goggles, so I could swap in on a Spore if I'm ever pinned, and then immediately repin the Amoonguss, but, you know, to each his own. There's so many good things about going Covert Cloak. I think safety goggles, Talonflame, especially on a potential Tyranitar team that could set seed, even though this is an unnerved T-Tar, safety goggles can be really good with, like, a Ghost Tera. You could always go Ghost Tera to avoid a Fake Out if you have to. Because, like, with Talonflame, even though the Covert Cloak happens and you don't get Fake Outed, you still lose your Gale Wings, which means they'd be able to double up into the right spots. So this is a weird turn. They have the Mouse Ape. I'm going to click the I'm going to click the Earthquake. And I'm wondering if I should Tera here with my Rotom. I don't think I need to. I'm just going to click the Discharge. This should be able... I wish... And also, our Garchomp's Dragon Tera, which, like, I'm not going to lie, I'd much rather be ground. So we could actually just go Tera and just win the game. We'd Oko the Mouse this turn. But, like, realistically, Dragon Tera is kind of saucy because if they want to go for, like, you know, a water attack on what would be a ground Tera read, or, like, a grass attack on what would be a ground Tera read, it wouldn't work. We outspeed the Mouse. You see, if we had the ground Tera there, we would have been able to Oko the Mouse there. We actually still outspeed the Mouse with our Rotom. We are using a almost full speed Rotom. And, yeah, that definitely works. We got the full pair on the Annihilate. Are they Lumberry? Huh. Rum Annihilate. Are they just Rage Fisting? It's going to do a lot. It's already got 2 ticks. The Bulk Up. That is incorrect, bro. That's incorrect. What made you think that you'd be able to get away with something like this versus the power of Garchomp Rotom? I might have to go Electric Tera next turn to get the KO on the Annihilate, though. We'll see. There's the Flutter. See, this is where that Dragon typing, really not the greatest. Is it going to be a booster over there? Okay, so this is still very low-key fine. I'm going to go protect the Chomp. Or am I? I could just fodder my Chomp here. and then send out my Talonflame. Or, let's see, what do we have in the back? We have Gengar in the back. I like Gengar here. I'm going to go Protect Chomp. This is pretty lame. And another thing is here, I really would have... I'm going to click the Shadow Ball into this slot just to respect the ape just a little bit more. I feel like this should be disincentivizing them into going Fire Tera, so they're probably just going to stay. And I would be surprised to see something like a Dazzling Gleam plus like a Drain Punch into the Rotom. That's what I would expect. And so if Rotom cannot die, there's no Tera here, so we're in a good spot. The Protect, the Reads. We need to get Talonflame on the board. Moonblast in the Rotom, the Read, they actually just ignored. They ignored me and got a special drop. That sucks. Shadow Ball blocked. Yeah, we were like, why didn't you Shadow Ball the Flutter Mate? It wouldn't have KO'd, right? It would not have KO'd. So this is not looking good for our hero. The good news is they're just going to go after that same slot. So we might as well just Earthquake. It sucks that like we probably don't KO with this Shadow Ball anymore because of that special D-drop. If you want to Moonblast my Garchomp, be my guest. Here's going to be a Tera coming in from their side. I kind of wish that I just clicked Discharge again, but I don't think we need to click Discharge. It's so weird to see the Lum Ape. Dude, I can't believe it. What if I just click Discharge? What if I click Discharge, bro? The disrespect. Dazzling, I don't know if that KOs Garchomp. Yeah, Garchomp's going to hold, so we're probably fine here. This is just so much damage. You gotta Moonblast those Garchomps. That's why people use Garchomp over things like Great Tusk, by the way. Great Tusk would have got destroyed. Garchomp, on the other hand, holds. This is not Stab Shadow Ball special attack dropped, but it's still enough to KO the Unnerve, and we'll take those. I don't know why they didn't Moonblast the Garchomp. If they Moonblasted Garchomp and Water Terra'd there, first of all, that Water Terra was extremely risky, because I could have just clicked Discharge. But like, you know, we still haven't even used our other mons in the back. We still have a Gengar, an Amoonguss. An Amoonguss among us. Alright, so they're going to be able to do basically whatever they want. You might as well just go with an Earthquake here. And, you know, you might as well just Volt Switch out into... Again, dude, if we had the freaking safety goggles, would have been fine. But we'll take those wins. We'll take those wins. Very, very standard. It shows that, like, even old school cores like this that have, like, really, really... I'm not going to say, like, outdated sets... There's nothing like wrong with respecting the classics here. I think people think in regulation C, like I have to use a Ruin Mon. I have to use this. I have to use that. Bro, EQ Discharge will always be strong with a little bit of speed control in the back. We got a little bit pinned in that one. But, you know, that's where good team building that we're going to do after the team fixing is going to come in to make sure we're always in control, right? We're always going to be in control. And I think, like, changing some of these Teras, I think, like, changing the Garchomp's Tera, maybe its item, changing the Rotom up a little bit, maybe changing up the T-Tar, obviously changing the Talonflame. I think that we're going to definitely replace the Corviknight in this team because we don't need two mons to do exactly the same thing. We are a pivot from fairy moves into a flying type that takes super effective electric damage and is a secondary Tailwind setter. We can have a different mon just fill this role, but I do like the Gengar, so we're going to try and feature the Gengar in the next game. That's Ditto. Alright, so Dittos are commonly built Scarf. Against a board like this, I don't think there's an issue with, like, Garchomp. Garchomp Rotom seems really, really strong here as well. We have to respect the Grim. I think what I'm going to do, though, is go Garchomp and Gengar. And the reason I want to go Garchomp Gengar is I still want them to think about reflecting. But if they want a light screen, the rest of our mons are probably going to be, well, I'm going to still bring my Rotom here, right? Rotom's still great versus Ting-Lu. And then I need to bring something in the back. This is Mirror Armor Corv. I don't want them to copy this. I don't want them to copy like 90% of these mons. I'm going to bring Tyranitar. I don't really like Tyranitar versus Wo-Chien. I just don't really like it. You know what? Let's just bring Talonflame. It's fine. Talonflame's just a fine mon. I'm not a big fan of Corv on this team that already has Talonflame. That's just my opinion. I also feel that, like, Corviknight sets, when you take a look at Corviknight sets, and your Corviknight set looks just like a Talonflame when it's, like, you know, Brave Bird Tailwind with, like, no investment in attack, I'm just not the biggest fan of that. So that's one of the reasons why you think, like, why aren't you using Corviknight? It's so good. It's not really that great in, like, this exact situation. So they're going to set up screens. Look at that. Look at that Gengar. Look at that little guy. Alright, so the reason why I led Garchomp as opposed to, like, literally anything else is because we want to flinch that Wo-Chien. We're going to go Rock Slide, and we're just going to go for a Sludge Bomb into the Grim. They can Light Screen if they want, but I think Rock Slide plus Life Orb plus like a stabbed Sludge Bomb should still be enough to get the Grim off the board. Make sure they only get one screen up, and they have to pick between physical mitigation or special mitigation on the screens. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they had like maybe a Ting Lu in the back and want to play like a really, really long game. But I think that this team has like the right amount of RNG to be a bully. There's the Reflect, which is not wrong, but they will be probably losing this to a Sludge Bomb here. Dude, Gengar Garchomp busted. The Poison, so even if we miss the Rock Slide, we're still probably fine. That being said, I don't want to. Woshin missed. That's the only thing we even wanted to hit on. Bro, you think I use Rock Slide for my literal health? You're just going to get a free Leech Seed out of this. That sucks. That's like really, really dumb. Yeah, Leech Seed and Chomp, so we have to switch. The good thing is they reflected. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap out Garchomp for probably Rotom. Or we'll see. We can swap in Talonflame in a lot of situations too. I just think that Rotom's good because if they want to then Leech Seed it, we can pivot. And we do a lot of damage to Woshan still with the Sludge Bomb. There's the Ting Lu. This is where, dude, if I had that Sludge Bomb, it'd be easy. It'd be done. So they have Reflect up and both of these Ruin Pokemon. Let's see what we want to get done here. Will-O-Wisp would have been great here. I think I'm going to pivot to Talonflame here. And I'm going to pivot to Rotom here because I think they're going to probably go for a Leech Seed into the Gengar, if anything, and then we would be able to Volt Switch back out. So we want Talonflame to block the, we want to get Garchomp off the board. And so we have to switch in Talonflame there. I wish we had like Grass Tera on any of these mons. It'd be able to block a lot of these Leech Seeds. Leech Seed, there you go. So we're just going to pivot there. Ruination on Talonflame, that's fine. Okay, so it's probably going to be a vested Ting Lu. I'm trying to see a Tera. Like, I'm trying to force a Tera, but like, probably not going to end up being that lucky. Let's see if they protect this turn. Nothing really wrong with it. Protect Woshian and Ruination, my Rotom slot. I don't think it would really be that big of a deal, though. I don't want Garchomp coming in on that either. If they want Ruination on the switch to Garchomp, that's fine, but I don't want to, like... Yeah, we'll see what happens. This Flare Blitz is not doing that much, but if it burns the Woshian, we're in a decent spot. Dude, they're big thinking. Flare Blitz, cool. Decent damage to that Reflect. That's a lot, actually. And the burn. Yes, we take those. It's a lot. It's a lot of damage. And Talonflame can just go down. Like, we don't even need it anymore. Let's see. What do we want to bring in here? They're going to go Leech Seed into that slot, right? No, they're going to Leech Seed Talonflame. It's already seeded. There's no way they're going to read that. I'll go into the Gengar. You can break my Sash, it's fine. You and me going for a ground attack into there. So let's see what they actually do. It's going to be a hard one. Leech Seed into Talonflame, absolutely fine. Ruination, Gengar, okay. Alright, so they have lefties and Leech Seed ticking. I like how Gengar, it's floating, but it doesn't float. It's not levitating. Let's see. If we got the Woshan off the board, we'd be fine, but that totally is a vested Ting Lu. Right? And we just don't have the right moves to be able to get it off the board. I'm going to read the Protect on Woshian this turn. I'm going to read a Woshian Protect. I'm going to try and burn the Ting Lu. That Reflect that they have is not going to last forever. And let's see how this goes. Ultimate stall in this game. Show me that Protect. There it is. Cool. Cool beans. Yeah, I'm not going to waste my time going into that thing. I'd like another burn, please. Actually, I'd like to die, but like... Yes, dude. Why I told you the reason I did it is because I wanted it. So we take those. You can Ruination till the cows come home. It's fine with me. Yeah. That sucks, but like it's all right. So burn Tinglu, burn Wo-Chien. Yes, you have Leech Seed ticking on my Talonflame, but like very low key. If you were to get a KO here, the fact that they didn't go for a Stomp Tantrum and Gengar makes me think that they might not have it, right? Just throwing that out there. Because I was thinking, like, maybe they'll go for it, you know? There's a lot of stuff happening right now. 3 HP. Absolutely no reason to not go Flare Blitz there, I think. Flare Blitz, big damage right there. Last potential turn of Reflect, but I doubt it. And we're going to go for just a Hydro into the Tinglu. If any of those guys switch too, like, we start doing a lot more damage with physical and special attacks. Cool. Any crits? Crits would just win the game. It's a lot of damage still. You can Volt Switch the... Sorry, you can Leech Seed the Rotom, and that's fine. Again, like, this is where, like, a Grass Tera would have been, like, so pivotal in just winning this game. Hydro Pump hits, nice. It's gonna be decent. Yeah, it's great damage. Critical hit, we take those. We're definitely playing our outs this game. There's a Snarl. Okay. Yeah, no, Leech Seed. Okay, okay. So Snarl, Protect, Leech Seed. Heavy Slam in it. They thought we were swapping in Gengar. And now it's time for Gengar. Now it's Gengar time. I think Gengar is probably the right play here. Because Gengar would be able to finish off the Wo-Chien. I think. I think it can. Get him, Gengar. Mess him up. What do we have? We have Poison Tera? Dude. I'll do it. What do they have in the back, you think? It's probably Ditto. It could be Moth. I feel if they have Moth, they would have already done it. I'm going to go Poison Tera. That's so clean. And then... we have to hit this, and I don't know if we need the crit versus Tinglu, but like I'm gonna do it. I wonder if they're gonna go protect Wo-Chien and try and ruinate, or sorry, and go Stomp Tantrum this turn. I don't know if that even gets the KO on Gengar though, because they're burned, right? And if you want to swap out anything, yo, my special attacks are strong once again. Inferdozo. Okay. All right, so it's a standard Dozo, just with just like Unaware and stuff. I wonder if they're gonna protect the Wo-Chien, because like. You dead. You gone. We big. Gengar with that Poison Tera. Yes, please. Let's pop off. Who needs Flutter Mane? Yo, you're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. Nice. So that's one down. This unlocks our ability to use our Garchomp. And remember, like I said, Dozo is probably unaware, so it's unaware of our special attack drop. Right? From the Snarl. So we're in a great, great, great spot. This is where if I had a Protect Gengar, I'd use it. I wonder what this Dozo is really going to do. It's probably a Fisher set. It doesn't have lefties either. Which one of these is more of a threat, do you guys think? Because I don't want to bring my Garchomp in and just get Fissured. I think the right play is to let one of these things die. So that means like Shadow Ball plus. I don't want to Discharge. I'll Hydro Pump the Tinglu. It's not gonna do that much, but like, I don't want to Volt Switch and bring my Garchomp in on a Fisher. That would be a game loss, I think. I think that would actually probably lose me the game. If they want to go after my Rotom, they have to go hard into beating the Rotom. And I think they are going to go hard into beating the Rotom because like they snarled that turn instead of like Leech Seed. I think they really over-respected that slot. It's going to be a lot of damage. Hydro Pump hits. Special attack. I'm super weak, but they're going to tick out unless they rest here. Fisher, and it misses, right? They hit the Rotom slot. I told you that's why we don't Volt Switch. That's why we don't do it. We don't throw, okay? We don't throw here. We throw literally nothing. Tried to fish. I knew it. I knew they thought I was going to Volt Switch. And I'm like, nah, nah, nah. Now I can Volt Switch. But I'm not required to do shit. And I think the right play is actually just to go Sludge Bomb here and just Hard Switch, because they're just going to protect. Dude, we won that game. We won that game. So, you do not need to use all of those stupid ruin Pokemon. Garchomp's good. Rotom's good. Talonflame got all the burns that we needed. Like, realistically, everyone's like, wow, you just won the game because you got lucky. It's like, no, you could have just had Will-O-Wisp. You know what I mean? Like, Will-O-Wisp would have done just as much value. And last but not least, like, Gengar was actually good in solidifying the wins in that game. Like, 130 base special attack is still really big, and we conditioned them into reflecting to over-respect Garchomp, right? So that's one of the reasons why we made this work. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go fix a little bit of the EVs with this team and see if we can, you know, clean up a lot of the EVs, clean up a lot of the moves, and generally see if we can, you know, make the team shine just a little bit more. So let's go into that right now. So again, this is the rental code. We didn't get to use the Unnerve T-Tar, but that's because I'm just not that big a fan of Unnerve T-Tar. If you really want to use Unnerve T-Tar, you definitely can, but a lot of these sets are for the most part 252 sets with, I would say, this team's biggest flaw being the Tera choices on these Pokemon. The Pokemon themselves actually work very well, as we showed in the games, but double dipping on Teras that you don't really need aren't great. So double dipping Electric Tera and Rotom's okay. It makes it so you don't have any weaknesses because you're Levitate, but you could definitely be double dipping and do like an additional stab, or maybe even putting like a Tera Fire there so you can check Amoonguss a little bit better. With Garchomp being able to double dip that ground, you already saw in the situation against that Mousehold, it's much better to get the double dip to your big AoE moves. And while it might be cool being Tera Dragon, this is probably just the case scenario where they caught a Gibble, it had Tera Dragon, it evolved all the way up to Garchomp, and it kept it, right? Same thing with the Gengar. Tera Poison, we did use the double dip Poison. We used it in the right situation, but you'd be much better with Gengar double dipping into like a defensive Tera. I think Grass Teras on this team would be very nice. And while I think Corviknight and Talonflame are both great Pokemon to pair with Garchomp, they both don't need to be on the same team. I think, if anything, we're going to be cutting that Corviknight to cover up for weaknesses that this team has. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know the Pokemon that we're going to add. So that being said, we're going to go take a look at the team right here. And before we get into that, we're going to take a look at the submission post that they did on Patreon one more time. So right here is what they said. I built this team at the start of the game, and it was doing well, although I haven't played any competitive Pokemon recently. And the fact that you fixed your team from Series 1, remember I did that like earlier on, I did it like a couple weeks ago. I reused my Series 1 team just to show that you guys can win with pretty much just Garchomp, Speed Control, and a Rotom. It's really, really good. Encourage you to submit this. I don't recall why I had two Tailwind setters, but could be replaced by Scizor or something. That was actually exactly what I was going to replace the Corviknight with. I think Corviknight would really, really cover up for the fact that this team has weaknesses to things like Flutter and Xianpao, and it gives you that big priority and that pivot option, being able to also pin those Ruin Pokemon like Ting-Lu and Wo-Shen. So they already see exactly where we're going with this. I can't remember the EVs, but they want more setups, more optimal setups than 252. So that's what we're working on here. And so I agree. I think the Corviknight's still like a very, very good mod. I think you should keep Corviknight over. Sorry, I think you should keep Talonflame over Corviknight. And we're gonna make this into a Scizor. Now, before we get into fixing everything, we want to make sure that our moves are right for the right situations here. That's what I like to do when I build teams. And if you want to use Gengar as an Imprison Trick Mom, that's fine. These are the right move sets to do that. The only thing I would maybe even think about doing is actually making the Sludge Bomb into Dazzling Gleam, potentially. Right? If you make it into Dazzling Gleam and you actually have Speed Control from Talonflame, you can then imprison a Flutter Mane from pretty much being able to do anything other than Moonblast, and then if it's just Moonblasting, that's bad versus things like Gengar, Talonflame, and Scizor. So just a little, if Talonflame's still giving you, if Flutter Mane's still giving you problems, think about making that Dazzling Gleam, making the Sludge Bomb into a Dazzling Gleam. I can't even use my words today. This is what I get for trying to record at like, right when I wake up, right? I need to have a sip of my coffee. Let me know if that ever happens to you guys. I think also like Talonflame, Flutter Mane, those are like the same amount of syllables. But yeah, that being said, this is a good Gengar set, and being able to imprison Shadow Balls from those guys is very, very good. Let's go into the Garchomp set. This is the standard Garchomp set. I would say that you could deviate a little bit and maybe actually cut the Dragon Claw for maybe like an Iron Head and go for like a Steel Tera if you wanted something to be a little bit different, but this is a standard set. There's nothing wrong with it. Tyranitar, I'm not like sold on this Pokemon. I think if this was my team, I realistically would put an Amoonguss here. I think an Amoonguss would make a very good defensive pivot, but that being said, T-Tar is like the coolest Pokemon in the game. And so if you want to keep it, it's absolutely fine. We'll fix up the EVs a little bit, and this is a cool set. I like the Ghost Tera, potentially being able to go for Ghost Curse. The only thing you have to remember is when you want to click Ghost Curse, you have to already be that Ghost Tera type to be able to actually, like, pick what you want to do with it. Otherwise, it's just going to go random. So, cool set. The only thing I would say is you want Assurance here. That way, if one of your Pokemon deals damage, you actually double dip into, like, a bigger double damage Assurance, which is, it's about 40 to 50% strong. It's 50% stronger than Crunch, right? Because Crunch would be just a static 80. This is a 60 that doubles to a 120. That's 50% stronger, right? So you want that Assurance in that situation. Rotom, I don't dislike this EV spread. I like the Shadow Ball. We talked a little bit about having like a Tera Blast with like a weird Tera, but I feel like we should be terrastizing other Pokemon, and Rotom's just very standard. So I would keep this just as it is. Shadow Ball's great at pinning things like Annihilate and Goldangos, while also dealing like good enough damage to some other mons. It also heavily punishes Pokemon that do go Ghost Tera for defensive purposes. So I don't dislike this, but Volt Switch, Discharge, Hydro Pump, super standard. And standard Talonflame here, I would say if we're going to be Covert Cloak, you don't actually need Protect. So there's 3 or 4 moves you can actually cut on this Talonflame. You could put Will-O-Wisp on here, you could put Taunt on here. I'm a big believer in not really putting Taunt on Talonflame though, because like, what are you taunting? A Spore from an Amoonguss, you could just hit that with a Brave Bird or a Flare Blitz, right? A Trick Room, realistically, any Trick Room setter is going to be paired next to Redirection, or they're going to have a Mental Herb or something like that. So Taunt doesn't really give you the same value on Talonflame. What I would recommend in this situation, on a Covert Cloak Talonflame, is to use Feint. And that way, if you know that they're going to be protecting, you can just go, like for example, against like a Wo-Chien, you know they're going to go Leech Seed, do all those things, you can go Feint, and then like pop it with your Scizor, or Feint and just pop it with your Garchomp. They're going to use Wide Guard, Feint, Earthquake, Dunzo. Easy peasy. It's great. I highly recommend the Feint. And now that we have our move set, we have to set our Scizor set still. I think Scizor can definitely still rock Protect. Protect's good. There's 3 or 4 different ways to play Scizor, right? There's that Life Orb set, which I think we actually should use, and we're going to mess with our Garchomp. But that would use like 3 different offensive coverage moves, things like, you know, Close Combat, U-Turn, Bullet Punch. But there's also like Pounce sets with like Citrus Berries or like Tailwind sets. I don't necessarily think you need those. I think a standard Life Orb Scizor is great here. So like you go Close Combat, you go U-Turn to be able to pivot, and that's great. And then you go Bullet Punch, right? Bullet Punch. Great stuff. And then we would make this thing into a Life Orb. And we make this into Technician here. And then now that we have all these things out of the way, we can start messing with the rest of these mons. I still like the Leftovers on T-Tar, but we can't use 2 Life Orbs, right? So we have to change Garchomp's item. And I think the item that is very, very, very underrated on Garchomp, I think a lot of people are going to say they want Lum here or Clear Amulet. I actually really like the Soft Sand. I've been using this for a while in my own teams, and I'm very, very happy with its performance. Soft Sand is very, very, very good on Garchomp, giving that 1.2. It's basically the same amount of damage modification. You don't really need to boost the power of your Rock Slides, because you don't use Rock Slides for damage. You don't need to boost the power of your Dragon Claw. You don't really use Dragon Claw is going to be super effective against anything you use Dragon Claw on. But going like Ground Tera Garchomp, this is the situation where you'd want that boost, right? This is the situation where you'd want that boost. And so getting a 1.2 static into that is going to be really good. And I also would say the Garchomp set that I use cuts this Dragon Claw for Stomping Tantrum here. And so now you get a 1.2 on 2 of your moves without any HP recoil, and it doesn't show your item in a closed team sheet. When you show that Life Orb, they're like, dude, he's not Sash. Dude, he's not Clear Amulet. He's not this. He's not that. So this is what I would recommend on a Garchomp set. And we're going to mess with a lot of these EVs now. So let's go into making some EVs. Gengar's good. Absolutely how you would use Gengar. Put those last 4 points in HP. With Scizor, though, you have to get your HP to like 188. Right, sorry, 1 right there, 188 investment. This ends it in a 9, which means you're going to take less damage from your Life Orb recoil. You can then get afforded the luxury of going a 252 Adamant set. And then from there, we need just a little bit of speed, because we do have it with Talonflame. You can also opt for a Scizor that has like very limited speed to go for a slower U-turn to pivot, but I don't think you necessarily need that. What I would do, the set that I always recommend for people, goes for 44 here. And this lets you get to a 91, which in a Talonflame Tailwind speed control double is going to double to 182, which outspeeds Lycanroc and Mousehold if they don't have their respective speed controls up. So that's what I like this set for. And then for the rest, you just throw 20 and 4. And the reason you want to throw 20 into the Spadef instead of defense is because there's a lot of moves in the meta, especially things that Scizor is going to switch in and soak. Things like Dazzling Gleams and Make It Rains. A lot of the moves in the meta are currently special for the AoE variants. So I would say that's probably the right way to do it. And then for Scizor's Tera, you can, well, let's look at Tera's last. We'll look at Tera's last. Garchomp, though, you definitely still need to be full speed on Garchomp. 102 is a very good speed tier. It lets you outspeed a lot of Pokemon in the meta. And if we take a look at, like, speed tiers, right, if you're going to be a Garchomp that's adamant, you're letting Chiyus outspeed you, you're letting Palafins outspeed you, letting Tauroses outspeed you, letting Volcaronas outspeed you, you're letting Timid Hydreigons outspeed you, you're letting Jolly Arcanines outspeed you, Jolly Mimikyus. You have to go Jolly to force those Pokemon to still be below your speed tier. And that's pretty much it. You have to be. So you got to pay the tax. You got to be fast. As for this T-Tar, I think you did a lot of things right on T-Tar, but I think a little bit more speed could be nice, but we have Curse, so I don't even think we need it. I actually don't think we need any speed on this T-Tar because we're probably going to be cursing, which lowers our speed anyways. And what I would actually do with this T-Tar is make it as slow as possible. I would make T-Tar 0 speed, but it's not, like, required. And then from there, you can just cut up the rest of these points and put them basically wherever you want. Full speed is correct. You don't need that much attack on T-Tar because you're putting your nature into there, and that nature is a 10% boost to its highest stats, so you're already doing everything right. I would just throw the rest of these points in Spadef. So the T-Tar, you could completely leave the T-Tar exactly the same, but I would go with something like this. And in previous formats back in Series 1, you did still need a little bit of speed in that T-Tar because you needed to outspeed Sylveons, but we're just not seeing as many Sylveons right now. So that's why you can be afforded the luxury of, like, taking those points out to be as slow as possible. It also is nice to have one slow Pokemon in your team. So, especially on a team like this. So if I were to have a board state that led, like, Tyranitar and, like, Gengar, like any other Mon, and I know that they're going to swap in, like, an Intimidator to intimidate me, right? But I want to swap in something like a Garchomp, right? The way that swaps works is the faster their Pokemon are, the fastest Pokemon swap first, right? So if they want to then swap out their Volcarona for Gyarados, right, to intimidate us, we want to actually have the slowest Pokemon swap out last. So we can bring in that Garchomp, bring in that Talonflame, bring in that Scizor, and bring it in after an Intimidate already goes up. So the same thing works for weather, the same thing works for, like, every other situation, but coming in last is always going to be beneficial. And I'm not going to lie, if this was me, I would still make this T-Tar Sandstream. I would. I know you got to Sash Gengar, but, like, I totally would, man. I think Sandstream T-Tar is, like, the sauce right now. It breaks Multiscale, it breaks Shenpao. Just think about maybe trying it. But try to have that low speed number so you can have those good pivots. Rotom seems fine. Rotom, though, it's such a weird mon. If we're going to be min-maxing, I'd cut that up into a 4-4 here. You don't actually want to take that many points out of Rotom HP because, like, it has such good defenses. Like, you wouldn't cut the HP up to 28 and go 4-4. You just take one out of special attack. And I think the speed stat worked. I was very surprised when we outsped, like, Annihilate and even the Mousehole. I was very, very surprised that we outsped their Mousehole with this set. So I would say just keep it. Rotom's relatively fast. 86 is a decent speed tier. And this lets you outspeed everything you need to outspeed. So I would say just keep it. I'm sure this is made to, like, outspeed Goldango, so it definitely works. And for Talonflame, you still do need to go Jolly, in my opinion, just because we take a look at the speed tiers, right? Talonflame outspeeds things like Kilowatt by 1, Weavile by 1, and then, like, Masquerada by a couple. So if people are trying to speed creep Masquerada, you know, you might as well, like, you'd have to already get to 124. And if you're going to go to 124, you might as well go to 125. You don't want to get outsped by Kilowatt and speed tie that thing, so you might as well go to 126. And because you don't want to speed tie other Talonflames, so you just still kind of have to go full investment. One cool thing about this team, though, is Feint. Feint is a +2 priority move, so there's going to be a lot of situations where if you had some other sort of speed control already up, and you could Feint to break other Talonflame's Gale Wings and just destroy it with something else. So if you know their Talonflame's, like, a little bit bulkier, you can go Feint Talonflame, like, Rock Slide Garchomp and just end them. It's actually really, really cool. So those are the changes that I would make to the team before we get into Teras. I think that normal Tera might have been an accident here. The only thing I can think about normal Tera is this would condition people into, like, Shadow Balling with their Flutters, and you go normal Tera and block it, but that's just not it. Like, I think that Grass Tera is a good one here. Grass Tera is going to make it so you take reduced damage from electric attacks, but also it makes it so Talonflame doesn't have to care about those, like, Leech Seeds and redirections and all those other weird things. I think that it's just a safe way to play Talonflame. The other option would be to go Safety Goggles and, like, a Ghost Tera here, but I think that, like, you're fine just putting Grass there. Rotom, see, I'm not a big fan of the Electric Tera double dip, but you know, there's not many other things you could do. I would also say that Grass is fine here. You need Grass Teras to be able to stop redirections, spores, Leech Seeds. Grass Tera is also so good on these two Pokemon because they have two weaknesses to those like types. Rotom doesn't like fighting grass moves. You can go Grass Tera to make that resisted, or you can go like Talonflame doesn't like electric moves or water moves. You go Grass Tera to make it resisted. For Tyranitar, you have to be Ghost. Garchomp has to be Ground. Scizor, though, it could double dip at Steel Tera, or you can just go with the standard Water. Right? I think that Water is a fine Tera on Scizor, so I would say just go Water. It helps you block Palafin as well. In the Palafin late game scenarios, so this is a great Scizor set. And last but not least, Gengar. Gengar's such a weird one. I would make Gengar a flying type here, so you compare it next to your Garchomp. And also, just like flying typing lets it lose its weakness to ground, which it had before, so it makes it just a better Mon versus Ting-Lu. So those are the exact changes I would make, and what we're going to do now is go play a game on Showdown and see if those changes that we made actually translate into making the team, you know, work correctly in a competitive setting. So let's just go into it. All right, so that looks really, really standard. Grim is, you know, problematic, but I think we're going to be fine. Palafin could be a problem, but that's why we got two Mons that have Grass. We got Grass, Tera. I think Rotom's actually a very, very good lead here. What if we were to lead, like, Rotom, Garchomp? I think Rotom, Garchomp is just very, very standard here. And then we actually want to pivot away the Garchomp into, like, Scizor if we see them lead, like, Shampow or things that would pin Garchomp. And then we can just Bullet Punch them out. This also lets our Scizor come in and be, like, unintimidated by the Arcanine. And then last but not least, we're probably going to want just a little bit of speed control. But we could also just go Gengar. I'll go speed control. Talonflame's a good Pokemon. Alright, there's the Palafin. So against Palafin teams, there's a couple ways that they want to play it. So the way Palafin works is it needs to pivot to probably either the Arcanine or the Amoonguss. The good thing about this exact situation is, like, if we can kind of, like, not care at all what they do. I think the right play here is probably just a Discharge and just go for a Protect. I think Protect here baits the Ice Spinner. And we want actually Garchomp to stick on the board. So there's the Arcanine. Awesome. This Discharge Para could be massive this game. Ice Spinner blocked. Next turn we pivot in Scizor, because we don't want Scizor on the board just yet. We'd like to see a Para. If we got a Para there, we would have just stayed in with Garchomp. We can, like, still low-key stay in with Garchomp. But let's see. I think that the right play here would be something like... I think that you can actually, like, low-key Discharge again. But we're going to Hydro Pump the Arcanine and Hard Switch in our Scizor here. Let's see if they Wisp that slot. Ice Spinner gets blocked for the most part. Wisp, the good play. That's the right play. The double dip into that's great. We take out the Arcanine now, and this is fine. This is actually still enough damage for Scizor to KO their Shampow here. There's the Pult, so it's these two plus Palafin in the back. Right, so that means they're going to be going all in to deal with Rotom. So how do we want to deal with that? So probably like a big Dark Attack into there. We actually don't need Talonflame for anything in this matchup now. So we can swap there, and... Bullet Punch would KO Shampow. I think I'm just going to U-turn it, though. Bullet Punch would KO, though. Swap in Talonflame and just Bullet Punch. I think it's fine. Cool. Dragon Arts is fine. And so they just have Palafin left, and we have all four of our Mons. They have the option to go for... Ooh, they're orbed on that Pult. Huh. Normally those Pults are banded on this sort of team. I wonder what the item is on the Palafin then. Is the Palafin banded? Note that we kept our Garchomp alive, and that's super, super important. So let's see what they want to do. They can come win against anything. We can also, like, Grass Tera here if we really wanted to, or Water Tera here if we weren't burned. I don't think we need to Tailwind, but, like, I'm going to try and Tailwind. And then I might as well just throw, like, a Bullet Punch into the Pult. You can totally go for, like, a Jet Punch there, double KO into that slot, but then Rotom should be very, very good at solidifying this win condition. Let's see it, though. Let's see what they're working with. Jet Punch is totally fine. Dude, imagine if I was, what is that, Flame Body? Dragon Darts double dip. Awesome. And so I think we're going to be fine. Actually, I think what we're going to do is go Electric. No, actually, I don't know if we want to go... Oh, sorry, it's Grass Tera. Let's see. Do I want to do that? I'm going to click the EQ. There's no real reason to do anything. Like, there's no reason to Grass Tera. We already blocked those moves. I'm just going to click the Discharge. Water Tera, double dip. Dragon Darts, a lot of damage. Note that they're not Jet Punching. And Garchomp's faster than that Palafin. Earthquake, big damage. Finishes off Pult. Puts that Palafin a little bit low. Discharge. Do we get the KO? We do not, but... Wave Crash is going to solidify it. Awesome. So we're going to take that win, And I'm going to go into one more because that game wasn't super clean. Like, we were in control the whole time, but it was kind of boring. So we're going to go into another one. Oh, man, is that a little bit of Perish? Dude, I haven't seen this team in forever. Okay, so against this sort of team, I'm a big fan of just, like, EQ discharging it out. Like, so, like, Garchomp, Rotom is great. Rotom's so good at pinning, like, all of the Intimidators in the format. Arcanine, Gyarados, Crocodile. There's so many things that Rotom just comes in and says, "You done." I also think there's nothing really wrong with going with like a Scizor as a pivot. You could also, against like Perish teams, just lead with like a Ghost type or a Pivot Mon. But the fact that we have Rotom is good. So we can go Rotom, Garchomp, and then from there, I think Scizor is still very strong. And we're going to bring the Gengar because it's another Ghost type for a pivot. We can also Trick Room with Gengar to make sure if it was a Perish, we could like reverse Trick Rooms or set up a situation where like even if they Perish us and we're on the last 2 Mons, like Gengar will end up on top. So in this situation, we're going to try and see if we can switch, because it says you are trapped and cannot switch, but like sometimes it'll let you, and it doesn't. So that means they are Shadow Tag, not competitive, not anything weird. So that being said, who are they fake outing? It's going to be Rotom, but they have to Perish still too, right? So like, I'm going to click Discharge, and I'll click the EQ. You can fake out one. Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah, Perish, go nuts, Chief. Go nuts. Sash right there. Look at that damage. That's so much damage. I don't actually think there's anything wrong with... We want a Volt Switch, right? But, like, Discharge and EQ is good damage. If they double protect here, next turn we'll Volt Switch something. We can't side Volt Switch our Garchomp either. Just throwing that out there. We cannot. So, we are going to... I wonder if they have an eject button on one of those Mons, but we're going to click Volt Switch with our Rotom. We're going to go EQ, Volt Switch, Rotom. And hopefully they don't have like an eject button. But this should be enough to get the damage that we need. Yeah, Perish is like cool. Like, it's cool. But like, we get what we want out of it. They gotta switch that Flutter out. That's the thing. They have to switch out Flutter. And we're gonna over-respect the Gothitelle slot. There's the Arcanine. Good Intimidate. I think we might still KO this thing. Water Tera. Dude, they think they're cute. They think they're cute. And we still click that. Bruh. So Rotom's not gone. We can bring in Gengar or Scizor here. I'm going to bring the Gengar in. Garchomp goes down next turn. We still have Stomping Tantrum. We want to bring in Gengar because, like, we don't want to get, pinned by that Arcanine. Palafin's the last Mon. Okay. Weird. So Garchomp can just switch because there's no second Trapper. They just let the Gothitelle. They should have swapped it out. Yeah, so Garchomp will just swap. And we'll probably just go for a Shadow Ball into the Arcanine. And we'll swap to Rotom. So they just messed that one up. Jet Punch is fine. Don't care. And now they can't ever activate their Palafin. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just because Wolf Glick makes Perish Trap work doesn't mean it works for everyone. They can double dip into our Gengar spot, but that's going to be absolutely fine. I think it's fine. We're going to go Shadow Ball. We're going to Sludge Bomb Palafin and just Discharge. I mean... Sometimes hitting your own Mons is the right play. What can I say? Sludge Bomb, big damage. Poison, you would take those. Another one, big damage. And then we just win. Cool. So we'll take those wins. And yeah, I think this team works. I think Rotom is very slept on in this format. Rotom Garchomp is still super strong. And like I said, it does a great job of pinning all of the Intimidators in the format. If they want to use Arcanines or Gyaradoses, they're in for a bad time. And Talonflame's always standard. Feint's a cool option. T-Tar is scary enough and forces the amount of respect, forces them to bring those Palafins, so Palafin can have a bad time versus Rotom, Garchomp, Scizor, and even Gengar is a really fun to use good Pokemon in this format, I think. So hopefully you guys liked this little video. If you guys still wanted to submit a team on Patreon, we're still taking submissions here. What is it? There's 89 teams here already, but like I've been doing my best to get to all these. I work through like 1 or 2 every single day. Every once in a while, I'll just go through and I'll write a poke paste and I'll say like, hey, at the very least, like these are the changes I would make. Here's how I would make them. So I'm doing my best to get to all the teams. And again, the link to this post and the Patreon as well, where all my rental teams go, as well as like a bunch of other teams that I don't even publish on YouTube. That's all up on Patreon. So think about checking that out. Even the lowest tier, the $2 tier, gets access to all that stuff. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And other than that, this was the original submitted rental code. If you guys wanted to use this version, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.